Okay, so we're filming. I was going to try to post some old videos from my travels, and I have discovered, I think, that I deleted them. I thought that I was uploading them to Google and then I could delete them from my phone, but something in my settings had it synced so that they got deleted on Google as well. You know, if you delete on your phone, then it copies it to Google, whatever actions you take. So that was unfortunate because I had some amazing footage of Bon Monastery. I'm always talking about all these places, amazing places I've gone, and then telling you all about them, and then I have no proof because I'm working with an Android, and now everyone is pressuring me that I should get a tablet. I am not the most friendly person with technology, in spite of the fact that my father was a computer consultant for the Canadian government. Um, I don't like machines. I'm kind of retro. I like the what makes sense to me is the Bronze Age, and everything that came after that is sort of confusing, including all the religions that came after. Which is why I identify as pagan. And anyway, I went to a Bon monastery, and so I will use this video to talk about the Bon religion, which I think for pagans is something that pagans should know about, because when most people think of Tibetans and the Tibetan religion, they think of Buddhism, um, which is a 2,000-year-old religion, which is really pitiful when you think about the history of the world. I mean, we define religion by these four religions or five that have not really been around that long, apart from Hinduism. So when you're thinking about a culture, kind of look further back than 2,000 years. I encourage you all. Anyway, Bon, B-O, but it's the O with the two dots on the top, N, and it's like pronounced Bon, um, almost like Buahn. And it is, I believe, the only religion apart from Hellenism that, I mean, you could argue Vedic Hinduism also, but that has a goddess as the kind of progenitor of the religion. And so when you're studying Bon, the first thing you learn is that there are four transcendent lords. I cannot remember all their names and I cannot say them in Tibetan, but I can tell you that the primary one is female, and her name is Satrig Ursang, something like that. And she is represented as an old woman who is laughing and crying all the time. And then you forget about her because she's unknowable. The four transcendent lords are unknowable. You cannot know them with a human brain. So you forget about them, and then you address they have these kind of human, dumbed down versions of themselves, which are accessible for the human mind. And I don't remember, once again, like there's one who's like a high priest, and then there's one who's, I don't remember. It was such a big book, and it was hard to get through because Bon is very complicated, but also very fascinating. Um, so then the accessible form of Satray Gersang is Sherab Chamma, and it's like it's a goddess that looks like a young woman, and kind of a predictable, almost Hindu like goddess in the meditation posture, for arms. I believe there's a mirror. And what you have to realize about Bon is that they do use the Salvastika, which is a kind of swastika symbol, which in the Bon religion was a thunderbolt. Um, And I believe that like the Nazi symbol was that it went counterclockwise, and the Buddhist and Hinduism used the clockwise. Like it looks like it's spinning clockwise, and then I believe that Bon did actually also use counterclockwise. And this symbol, of course, was co-opted for white supremacy, but obviously that was not what Bon people were attempting to propagate. However, it is the position of the Buddhist religion that the Bon religion was destructive because they did everything counterclockwise. And so if you circumambulate a Gompa or a Chedi in a Bon temple, you have to enter on the right and then circumambulate moving left. And then when you exit from the left door. So which supposedly is the direction of dissolution. Dissolution. I don't know. I'm just putting all this out there as information. I went to the Bon Monastery in India, and it was amazing. I had wanted to go there for a long time, mostly just because as a pagan, I'm interested in any traditions that have a long, long history that goes back further than 2,000 years. And of course, there are historians who say, "Oh, but you know, Buddhism changed everything in Tibet, so you can't really say that that is the same Bon religion as the Bon that came before Buddhism." But I kind of I think that European American historians have a tendency just to be very arrogant about studying any Eastern philosophy and whatever. They tend to be dismissive of any information that those traditions are presenting by their own experts. So, so I kind of, I'm skeptical about their skepticism. Anyway, what is that red thing behind me? Oh, it's the curtain reflected in the mirror. Okay. So, so I went to this monastery and it was amazing. They do focus on. I had always thought that Buddhism kind of introduced meditation to Tibetans, but they do use it in Bon, and I don't know if they always did, but certainly there's a lot of magic in Bon. There's a lot of focus on power, which is much more of a pagan idea than it is a. It's certainly not a Buddhist idea, and but I mean, when you go further back than 2,000 years, you find that a lot of religions were focused on influencing things and making things better on a personal level. It's more libertarian kind of. Whereas you know when you get into Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, and also to a greater extent Buddhism and certain branches of Hinduism, you're talking a lot more about serving the common good and being humble and being selfless. Paganism isn't really about that. They don't really emphasize humility. It's kind of more about. But I mean, at the same time, you are surrendering to nature and you're surrendering to the cycles. So in that sense, you do surrender your ego. So anyway, back to the Bon Monastery. I arrived there. I had left my community and I decided to just sort of go traveling in this random, senseless, druidic kind of way. And I was traveling with my friend, and you know, as long as I was with my friend, I was kind of fine, and just going with the flow. And then we had a huge fight, and then he left to go back to our hometown, and then I panicked because I realized that I had left everything that I knew. I sold all my shit, and I was stuck in this, not stuck, but I was kind of managed to land myself in this town in Haryana, um, which is just a kind of train stop town, really. And I freaked. I was like, what am I doing with my life? I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. Um, you know, I left all my friends and family, and I felt very alone and scared. And So I went out to eat, and this guy that I bumped into told me that there was these gardens, the Pinjore Gardens, which I'm not going to talk about in this video, but that was a memory from my childhood. So when he told me that, I went and saw them, and I realized that things were sort of with me. Like I was being, I don't know, guided or whatever. And there was kind of a purpose to what I was doing. I just didn't know what it was yet. And then I thought, oh, I should, because I suddenly remembered that I had passed the station where the Bon Monastery was. And I had been like, oh, but I'm going to Kalka, so I can't get off there. But then I was like, I have no particular plan to go anywhere. I should just get on the train and go back and see that place. So I did. And I arrived there, and it was amazing. I arrived there in the evening. The rent at this place was extremely cheap, if you stay in the monastery, and there were cats everywhere. There were just cats and kittens everywhere, which for me was very nice. Because I'm not as much of a dog person, but if I see a lot of cats, I feel very safe immediately. And I'm sounding like such a snowflake in this video. I go out traveling and panic immediately. There's a lot of emphasis on feeling safe. Um, and there were monks, kind of not really distinguishable from Buddhist monks, superficially, but it was just beautiful kind of valley, very misty, and a couple of foreigners staying there from Germany and Russia and America. And there was this school next door where a lot of people were learning Tibetan. And when I signed in to stay at the guest house, I noticed that the monk who was in charge of hospitality had on his desk these 4 statues of Buddha. I mean, they were shaped like Buddha, and they were sitting in meditation. But Bon doesn't really have the concept of Buddha as they have it in Buddhism. But they do have masters and adepts and sages, kind of. Anyway, so there's 3 statues, figures, with their mouths covered with these cloth masks. And I asked him about those, and he said, oh no, they have those in Buddhism too. It's just to control the flow of what comes out of your mouth, because it can be destructive, whether it's words or germs. And then I noticed at one of the rituals also the high priest, who wanders around with a brazier, distributing incense smoke and playing a gong, also was wearing one of these masks. And then the other high priest was not. So I don't know what any of that means, but I thought it was very fascinating and kind of deliciously spooky, I guess I would say. And I don't remember much about my time there, but it was very blissful. I went to a couple of rituals. I went in the mornings. I was waking up early, which for me is miraculous. And I had a problem. Like, I would have stayed there for months, but it is in a protected area. It's this zone in India, which is, you need a special permit to stay there. So I did not have one, obviously, because I had showed up there spontaneously. But if the police come, you can be kind of escorted off the area. I think it kind of functions like a reservation in terms of the government status, but I'm not really sure. Anyway, so it supposedly the sort of chatelaine of the premises told me that they were planning on repealing that requirement. So it would be easy to maybe go there now. The name of the monastery is Menri, and it's in Solan district of Himachal Pradesh. So if you ever want to go there, I recommend the place. I think it was extremely magical. You have to be able to meditate for long periods. I thought that the little boy monks during the meditation were hilarious, though, because they were so naughty. Like, they were giggling all through the ritual and pushing each other and knocking each other over. And it was kind of, I mean, it wasn't disruptive, but it was definitely playful. And, uh, and then they were arguing over who was going to have to blow the horn. Like there was one monk reminding another monk, okay, now it's your turn to blow the horn. They have these huge horns that have to be played at certain intervals during the chanting. And it was like neither of them wanted to do it, so they were trying to pass it back and forth. I don't know why that just cracked me up. Uh, yeah, I had very enjoyable meditations there, and not much internet signal, which was kind of nice actually. Um, what else? Did I want to say anything else about Bonn? Not that much. I really didn't learn very much there. I mean, except that I enjoyed my time a lot, and I was kind of hoping to talk to people about Bonn, but the guest house that I was staying in was also being enjoyed by other guests who were American and Russian and German, and they kind of had their own thing that they were doing, and then their understanding of Bonn seemed to me not that different from Buddhist people. So I didn't really get what attracted them. One guy said that they had helped him overcome a depression, and then the Russian lady didn't speak any English, so I didn't really know. But she was doing the whole program. She was really wanting to kind of become a Bonn master. And then there was a German lady who I spoke to most of anyone, but she was leaving as I arrived, and she did say that what she described to me sounded pretty much like Buddhism. So I don't know what attracted her to Bonn in favor of Buddhism. I mean, I know what attracted me. It was the fact that it, by my definition, is a pagan religion because it focuses on goddesses and multiple deities, and it regards magic as something positive, not evil. So, in that sense, I think of it as more pagan. And also, a counterclockwise thing is a thing in Wicca and witchcraft also. So, you have sunwise and then you have moonwise. Anyway, I think I just wanted to make a video, and I'm kind of enjoying experimenting with different light in this room. So the last time I made a video about the painting, I liked the way the light looked coming in from the window, and today not as much, but can't always be looking fabulous. Anyway, so I will leave this here, and blessed be. I will link to the Menri Monastery in the comments, in the description of the comments. All right, bye.